You grow up wanting to do digital logs, Anthony? Was that your dream? Like when I grow up, I'm going to do digital.
No,
um,
no, obviously not. No, I mean, I had maybe like very modest dreams like everyone else. I want to be like an astronaut, or I want to like go for like a nice diving trip around the world, that kind of thing. Not definitely like digital locks is something that's very, very far from what I originally. I mean, I didn't expect myself to be making smart locks, lah. Yeah, and I think one of the things that really got me into like entrepreneurship was actually traveling. Yeah, so I like to travel quite a fair bit. When I was studying overseas in the UK as well as in the US. And then I was doing a lot of Airbnb, to be honest, at the time. And so when I graduated and I came back to Singapore, I realized that, hey, since I'm in Singapore, I'm working, I've got some time on the weekend, why don't I also run an Airbnb myself so that I can meet, friends from overseas, or like, and just make some money on the side. Lah. So actually that was how it started.
capital for it. How do you find the capital for it?
Yeah. When we first started, it was quite simple lah. So we actually rented like this house, and then what we did was we cut it up into like 4 to 5 different rooms, and then we sublet it up. Yeah. So actually, the unit economics of Airbnb is actually quite good. If you have roughly about 70% occupancy, you actually make good margins. Like on a good month, you might make 40%, 50% margins. And it was quite straightforward. Like, I mean, Airbnb was a popular platform. Everyone coming to Singapore, they'll either book on hotels or like book on Airbnb. So typically good months, you might get 80-90% occupancy. So it was pretty good. And then when we were doing this, we actually went from 5 units to like 20 units. It's like a small little business that we ran on the side while having our full-time jobs. And actually one of the challenges that we found was actually passing keys to guests. Yeah, because we had our full-time job, right? So like sometimes the guests would just forget about returning the keys, they'll bring it back and you need to change the locks. So we decided to make our own smart home system to help us manage our Airbnb properties on the side, so that you can become like a smart Airbnb hosting experience. And then what happened was that I think in 2016, roughly about 1 year after we did this for roughly about a year, our Airbnb became illegal in Singapore, so we can't do it anymore. And then we said, hey, since if we can't do Airbnb anymore, we have actually designed our own solution to help ourselves. Why don't we just productize it and sell it to Airbnb hosts around the world? Yeah, so that was, I
But
think, the idea.
you just, I mean, surely it must have been a little bit nervy, right? Like, but
Yeah.
yeah, we just pivot, problems.
I know. I mean, at the time, you're kind of young and a bit foolish, right? Or like naive, maybe. So, and I think this was like it represented like an adventure that we were excited about. And I think if you don't do it, then when you have like less obligations, when do you do it, right? So, and I think to be honest, this was not the first time that I kind of started a business. So there were one or two others, depending how you count it, that we started, and then it didn't really work out. We shuttered it. And then so when this idea came about, because we were actually facing the problems ourselves, right? And then when we designed the solution for ourselves, it worked well for us. So we knew that this was actually solving like a real pain point. Yeah. And then I think at the time there were maybe about 3 million Airbnb hosts around the world. And today it's grown bigger than that. So we felt that, hey, if we can sell one of this system to like every one of them, so it'll be a big business lah. So we said, hey, I think everything kind of makes sense. Let's jump into it. Yeah.
Would you say that,
Mhm.
as refugees, you are given one straight path, one path to success, and then after that, in adult life, you're let out into the wild, and there are many paths to success and many pitfalls that one hopes to
Mhm.
avoid. How did you navigate that journey? Because it looks like you pivoted and like you had failures before, which you recovered from
Mhm.
very well. Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, no, for sure. I think like they always say that the only constant is change, right? So actually when even though we first started out in the vacation rental market, we were very focused on trying to solve that pain point. And one of the technology that we created was actually to allow the lock to be able to recognize a credential or like an access mode without the need for any Wi-Fi connection. Because a lot of properties in vacation rental, they are in the mountains by the beach, they might not have good Wi-Fi connection. So we had designed that technology. It was very unique in the space. But once we have created that solution, we started to get a lot of different adjacent industries that come to us. These were not industries that we were looking out for at the beginning, but because we were actually solving like a real problem, we have other, different sectors that come to us. And one of the biggest thing that was adjacent that came to us was actually what we call the self-service rental business. Because, during I think 2019, 2020, during COVID, actually the sharing economy was growing quite well. So a lot of business owners were starting out gyms, Pilates studios, dance studios, and these were all owners that were wanting to operate without having like a front desk staff. They want to allow customers to just access the space any time of the day, and similarly like unmanned hotels as well, kayak rentals, even self storage. So they were all looking for solutions that could allow someone to go in and facilitate access without having someone like a constant human supervision. So that became like a secondary segment that popped up for us. And I think the way we did was really just having the technology and having customers that come to us and solving the solution targeted for that segment. And I think you talked about one of the biggest challenges that we faced was actually during COVID, where of course the vacation rental market collapsed, and then we had a big hit lah to our business. And so we realized that actually during that time that beyond the short term rental as well as the unmanned rental market, there was actually this much larger market called the long term rental market, simply put. Because in the US and increasingly in many parts of the world, right, in the US alone, more than 100 million Americans rent. They don't is unlike Singapore like, where home ownership is very high. In the US, home ownership is lower. Like 1 in 3 Americans rent, right? So there are a lot of large businesses that come together and then they own like thousands and thousands of units and they rent it out at scale, right? And certainly as we're coming out from COVID, the number of renters continue to rise because I think it's just a much more affordable way to live, lah. Yeah. So we did a pivot. We opened up our office over in Austin, Texas. This was back in end of 2021, roughly about 6 years back now. And we were very focused on targeting the long-term rental market, right? What we call the single family as well as the multi-family rental market in the US, which was also a right timing as well because many of these institutions are starting to like adopt technology and access control becoming one of the very important factor for them to improve their net operating income, they call it, as well as reducing costs, and make it more efficient to run these large property portfolios. And then this trend continues to grow across Asia as well, and Europe. You see, like in Korea and Japan, the younger generation tend to rent rather than buy, right? So, and across Southeast Asia, the rise of the co-living market as well has really exploded, over the last like 1 to 2 years. So we really started to scale up here as well, beyond just a short-term rental market, but into this long-term rental market. Something that's very interesting as well is also, the aging population is coming. So, or it's already here, lah, right? So there's growing demand for assisted living facilities or solutions that support aging in place. And a lot of this requires like a easier way to provide access to like a house, a property to deliver food, medicine, or like help. And so this is another industry that we start seeing come out. So actually, where even though we started as a solution for short-term rentals, we really have kind of pivoted and moved and expanded across multiple segments of the rental economy. Still very focused on the rental economy, but really just kind of following where the customers' needs are, solving the next customer problem. And so we kind of went from a smart lock company into a access control platform company for the rental space. But this took 10 years, right? 10, 11 years for us to kind of get to where we are right now. Yeah.
Interesting in how you recast it as like a more like holiday kind of theme industry into a security access control
Mm-hmm.
area, right? Which,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there's geopolitics and all that, but that's a
Yep.
complete different industry. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
interesting pivoted there as well. How's your
Yeah.
experience moving countries? I know you studied in the US and then did a lot of work in South
Mm-hmm.
Asia. What's the
Mm-hmm.
experience of re-entering the market after several years? Or maybe you haven't, you've always been in touch.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, I mean, certainly the US is a large market, right? And it's definitely one of the huge markets for entrepreneurs because, I mean, ultimately the market always wins, lah. No, it's a market that is huge, is at scale, encourages risk taking, encourages you to take, like taking big bold steps. And so that was kind of what we did, right, back in end of 2021, where we said we're going to invest heavily in the US market because many of our Southeast Asian markets were kind of very depressed. And so we went in there. It was almost like a I guess like a one shot thing, lah, right? Final shot kind of thing. So do or die already, yeah, more or less. So yeah, moved over there. And but I mean, honestly, I think we've been in there for 5+ years right now. Yes, the market is big, but also the competition is very strong, right? And customers demand commitment. They need to see that you're investing in the market, you're there. And nothing is guaranteed. But I think the good thing is that they do value if you're actually solving like a real problem and you're actually creating something that's meaningful and it solves that problem, they will give you a shot, right? So I think that's what we have learned. But ultimately, as a business, we're still very diversified, right? Our entire manufacturing capability is still across Southeast Asia. Singapore is still our headquarters. And so we kind of leverage, kind of the manufacturing capabilities of Southeast Asia, you know, putting things together here in Singapore, and then going to market in the US. And maybe I guess part of the experience across Singapore and US has really helped us to build this kind of a global team, right? That gives us a very good competitive advantage as we target the multifamily rental segment in the US.
Do you think you have an advantage compared to other, producers or manufacturers, competitors from Southeast Asia or North Asia because you
Hmm.
come from Singapore, because there's that Singapore ink glow?
There, in a way, I think there is. That's usually, I think, maybe the first impression, right? Because Singapore builds its entire ecosystem based on trust, right? And what we're selling, even though we're selling like locks, we're really selling security system. We're selling trust as well, right? So there's a nice alignment over there. So they are usually very happy to give an opportunity for you to prove yourself, right? But then that's like the foot in the door. So once you get in there, then your product needs to also hold up against many of the strong local competitors over there and deliver solutions that actually deliver either grow revenue or cut costs and help them run more efficient operations in this space. Yeah. So I think yes, but I mean at the same time, the Singapore government has also been very very supportive of companies in Singapore internationalizing. So we do get quite a lot of support from Enterprise Singapore, EDB, and the government agencies over there. During COVID, when we opened up our office in Austin, Texas, this was during the height of the pandemic, right? So Enterprise Singapore actually introduced us to a number of city councils around the US, and Austin City Council was actually the most welcoming. Yeah. So when we landed, they showed us around. We even got our very first warehouse introduction from Enterprise Singapore, sorry, from the Austin City Council. And so I think setting up the whole process was pretty smooth because of the introduction that was made, and it really helped us settle down. So when we landed there, they brought us a lot of tacos, show us around, and we got our first apartment rental from one of their connections, and it kind of kicked off that whole expansion journey from there. And I think there are many other things that they help us with. I mean, grants, notwithstanding, and many others. Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's a
Yeah.
good story, right? That's the perfect Singapore story. And I hope
One of those.
if you haven't already received one, I hope you get a mention at National Day or something.
No, no, no. I mean, there are many companies, many companies expanding. I mean, the truth about building a business in Singapore is that you have to think global from day one, right? So I think the government, I guess, has that mindset as well because the market is hardly in Singapore. I mean, certainly for certain segments is good. Certain sectors are good, right? Finance and things like that. But I mean, there are many other sectors that I think the global market definitely can contribute a lot more opportunities, yeah, for any business that's starting out here to grow. Yeah.
Would you
So
do
so
it
we,
all?
I mean, yeah, go ahead.
Would you do it all again if you had to?
Well, it depends.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
know, but so I like to ask this question because sometimes, when you're an entrepreneur and you're going through a tough season, you're like, why did I do this? You know?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. I mean, there are many days of like self doubt and that for sure. But I think the journey is very meaningful and worth it if you kind of pull yourself back and look at the entire experience. I think whether will I do it again? I think I'm a builder at heart, so probably I will do something. I mean, certainly now in this climate and context with AI, and the capital, the financing capital situation is very different from like 10 years ago. So maybe the sector that we're focused on might be different, but I think the core tenets will remain the same, right? Like really just solving a very clear customer problem and just focusing on that. And yeah, don't get distracted by what everyone else is doing. So and then I think as long as you create value, there'll be and you're relevant, then there'll be an opportunity for you. Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. I
And
like
maybe
that.
I might start in the US a bit earlier. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, refugees are not, immune to
Hmm.
retrenchments or the
Yeah.
vicissitudes of life, right? So many are thinking of entrepreneurship, but having stepped out the way that you have done, that's a very different story. And you seem to have a very good stomach for for risk that maybe not everyone would. So thank you very much for sharing your story, and I hope it also emboldens some people to take a similar step. Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah, I'm happy to grab coffee with anyone who's keen to catch up. I mean, there's so much that we have learned along the way, and so much more to learn. And I mean, along the way, we have gotten a lot of help from mentors and people who have been in the industry, right? That has known a lot more about access control, a lot more about property management in a multifamily, and I think we leverage many of this experience, and we come together to build a better business. I think that's kind of always trying to stay curious so that you can always grow up. Because I mean the only constant here is always you got to keep learning lah, I guess. Mhm.
Great. Yeah. I mean, I was reading
Mhm.
an old book called Built to Last, a
Mhm.
business book, right? And many
Mhm.
of the companies there are no longer in
Mhm.
existence. Yeah, so the
Right.
push
Right.
for business is not the same. The cycle of change has sped up
Mhm.
quite a
Mhm.
lot, and everything you're
Yes.
seeing, and the pivots that you've made show that as long as you've got the right attitude and you've got the building and problem solving mindset, then perhaps that is the key to long term success. Constant evolution. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I think one of the things that we always try to think about is how to build something that lasts beyond you. Because for us at Igloo, our vision, right, is to create a world without keys, right? But this vision is a big, bold vision, and we will not be the one that can deliver this, maybe in our lifetimes. But really, I think it's not about just about like you said, like hitting a certain revenue milestone or like changing behavior skill, but trying to put together a group of people that have the similar vision and similar mindset to deliver something that can last beyond you, and that takes, I think, a lot of trial and iteration. But I also do think on this point, right, that one of the most rewarding part of this journey is actually the people, lah, right? Watching someone maybe join you as an intern or like a fresh graduate, and then many years later they leave, they mentor others, and they become more confident when they first kind of join you. And this is, I think this is very rewarding. I think one of the advice that kind of have stayed with me was with this gentleman called Jamling Tenzing Norgay. So this is the son of the first man up Mount Everest, right? So he told me that for him in the entire mountaineering journey, it's always very important to remember that it's good to be great, but it's more important to make others great, right? It's a very powerful reminder that when you build something as a team, it's about what the people around you and how they become better because of this entire journey that you're on together, lah. So yeah, I think this
Thanks for
is
that message. It's
like it.
actually very relevant to where I'm at the moment too. So
Okay.
yeah.
Nice. Awesome. That's great.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
thanks
I mean, if you can make
for joining
go ahead.
us. And
Mhm.
yeah, I guess we'll send all of the people in our community to you
Okay.
if
Yeah,
they
if anybody needs smart locks, or access control, you know where to find us. We can give a special, Fusion discount. But yeah, I mean, definitely look forward to connecting up with the network a lot deeper. Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for the time. Yeah.
Stop.
Cool.